Wall and the dead body of Jon Snow. The big question to ask about the return of Jon is whether he will be resurrected or whether he will send his consciousness into Ghost. We know that bodies can be animated with little evidence that someone's consciousness is inside them, like a White or Lady Stoneheart in the book. Jon's consciousness may be inside Ghost, while his body walks around like a puppet. Now, I've read a lot of George R. R. Martin stories, and none of them involve resurrection, while body switching and corpse puppetry happen quite a bit. Now next we get a Martell ship heading into King's Landing, which is almost certainly Jaime heading home. The fate of Trystane is a huge mystery here. Whether killed or made hostage, it seems like a huge fuck-up for Doran Martell. Unless it's not the real Trystane or something. As you can tell, I keep hoping for an intelligent Dornish master plan, but we keep failing to see one. And then we have Jaime likely breaking the news of dead Myrcella to Cersei. So we always have a feeling that the show and the book will reconcile somehow with some of these plots. If there will be a reconciliation of the two Jaime stories, we are a long way off. Book Jaime, for the most part, has graduated. And when I say he has graduated, I mean he has come to our author's endgame message of realizing that war, revenge, and killing are bad. Book Jaime has seen the light, and that's what I most look forward to with the Jaime story in Winds of Winter. What does an enlightened person do next? How do they heal the world? George R. R. Martin has presented a lot of problems, but what are the solutions? Show Jaime is still all about hating other people and ruling the realm. Next, Cersei looks troubled about the death of her daughter. Now, stripping of femininity is a reoccurring theme in our story. Like Arya and Book Dany, Cersei's hair has been cut and her femininity has been taken away symbolically. The next question is, how does Cersei hold power without her tool of sexuality? There's of course Sir Robert Strong, but I think we will also discover that Cersei is smarter than we think and will do just fine. It is a little shocking that Myrcella is actually dead. In the book, Myrcella was an insanely important bargaining chip for the Dornish, and they just disposed of it in the show. In the book, Myrcella is so central to the Dornish chapters. How on earth can Show Dornish ever hope to avoid war now? Can Doran really pin everything on Ellaria? I guess we'll have to wait and see. Next we have a man that appears to be Davos and a pile of logs. I can't think what the logs are for. A funeral pyre? I can't think of who he would be burning. Jon isn't going to be burned, and Shireen has already been. Maybe Melisandre? We get a quick shot of the Boltons. Nothing really to say here. One of the best aspects of A Dance with Dragons was that all the houses were cooped up at Winterfell, and we got to see everything break down. I imagine the escape of Sansa is going to create some internal conflict. So then we get a flayed man being burned and a crowd cheering in the background. Now, Boltons don't usually burn their captives, and followers of the Red God don't usually flay their captives. If you notice, this person's face has been taken completely off, and then the body is being burned. This has happened before in our story, to fake Bran and fake Rickon. One has to ask, who would warrant a cheering crowd that large? Certainly Stannis, maybe Theon, but then why take the person's face off? And why burn them? I think that Stannis' body wasn't found, and they're burning a stand-in. And then we have a scene where Melisandre is saying that she misread her visions. One thing from the book about Melisandre is that she is bullshitting people somewhere between most of the time and all of the time. She does see things in her flames, but she has no idea what they are, so she simply interprets them and guesses. Next comes the Super Dario brothers heading off to find Dany and finding her ring, as if tens of thousands of horse tracks and hundreds of pounds of horse shit wouldn't give that away. We are way off book with Jorah and Daario, so it's tough to say where they will end up. The evidence is pretty strong that Daario is a fairly evil character in both book and show, so we shall see if he tries to murder Jorah along the way. Not that it matters too much, as Jorah is a dead man walking with his grayscale. I think a big question is whether Daario will become infected with grayscale. This could perhaps get us into the mysterious Shrouded Lord plot from A Dance with Dragons. Now next we have Dany arriving at Vaesdoth Rock with a special focus on how it's a mountainous city. In the book, Dany has visions of the crones of Vaesdoth Rock in front of a mountain, so returning here isn't too much of a surprise for book fans. The Dothraki have an obligation to return Khal widows to Vaesdoth Rock to become crones. So the real question here is, what can Dany find out from hanging with a bunch of crones? In the book, it seems that someone set up the crones to say that Dany will birth the stallion that mounts the world, and that person is likely Illyrio. I think Dany may find out some of Illyrio's plans through the crones. The other possibility is Viserys' body and his possessions, which we haven't seen since his death. He may have had some sort of document on him, maybe even a Dornish marriage contract, that would give Dany a greater clue on what was going on first season. Next we have the High Sparrow talking about revolution. I've recently read Plato's Republic because of its importance to another George R. R. Martin book, Tough Voyaging. And the Republic has made me think that the Faith Militant will have a much larger role than I initially thought, and may even rule fully in King's Landing instead of a king. The reason for this is because Plato describes government degrading from a timocracy, a military or honor-based government, to an oligarchy, a money-based government, to a democracy, a freedom and chaos-based government, to tyranny, a power-based government. The plot flow from a Baratheon to a Lannister to the Faith Militant to a Dragon Tyrant seems to fit this nicely. And next we have the Kingsmoot, which I am super looking forward to because it's in my top 5 favorite chapters. It might be number 1. I also love Cersei 4, A Feast for Crows, Dragon Tamer, A Dance with Dragons, Daenerys 10, A Game of Thrones, and Theon 1, A Dance with Dragons. It's hard for me to decide which is the best. Now at the Kingsmoot, maybe we'll actually get to see Gilbert Farwind. But in any case, this is of course the beginning of the Ironborn adventure to Slaver's Bay. So next we have Sansa, who is in pretty good health with furs and lip gloss. So I imagine she either made it to the Wall or to the Umbers. I'm guessing the Umbers? Or maybe the Manderleys? Since we're so far off book with her, it's tough to say where she is or what she'll do in the future. Will the North rally around her instead of Rickon as they do in the book? Or will Littlefinger pick her up and bring her back to the Vale or Harrenhal? It would seem a little crass to have the writers ship Sansa all the way to the north only to be abused and shipped back, but then again, that's what they did with Jaime. So here we have Tyrion with a torch, so I imagine he's going downstairs to have a look at those dragons. We generally know that the dragons will have to escape. However, we don't know if they will be released because of war or by mistake, as in the book. The big question is, who will capture them? Dragons seem to be a metaphor for nuclear weapons, and the problem with nuclear weapons is the minute one power gets them, their enemies try to get them too. The US got a nuke, which caused the Soviet Union to get a nuke, which caused China to get a nuke, which caused India to get a nuke, which caused Pakistan to get a nuke. I personally think that the Ironborn will be capturing a dragon. In the book, the Ironborn have a ship filled with pork that is ready to be chowed down on. I call this situation Chekhov's bacon. So then we have a dragon, but I'm not sure which one. Then we have Lancel facing off against Cersei. I don't actually know what the Faith is trying to do here. Cersei will likely win her trial, so she should be innocent in the eyes of the gods. But the Faith is after something or someone. I imagine Tommen? So Sir Robert Strong is fully operational, but I should make a statement about Clegane Bowl, and many of you will likely get angry at me. Clegane Bowl, get de-hyped. I understand that many of you want to see the Hound fight the Mountain, even though it already happened in Season 1, and it would be awesome, but the Hound has graduated. He has come to our author's endgame message of realizing that war, revenge, and killing are bad. And really think about it